Jean-Luc, as a cognitive psychologist, an anthropologist, how do you see the relationship between cognition and the individuals that you study in your experimental work and the development of a fully enriched culture?
Mm-hmm. So the relationships between cognition and culture is a fascinating topic, and but what does it mean? It only means that so the basic idea is that how the human mind naturally works should have an impact on cultural phenomena. So that should make that some things become more widespread culturally than others. To give an example, in the case of the visual arts, how do you explain that almost everywhere in the world there is some form of figurative representation, whereas you don't have conceptual art in every culture? That has probably something to do with how the human mind processes information. It values some information more than others. Cognition and culture means studying the relationships between how this cognitive process have an impact on culture, and also vice versa, how culture can have an impact on cognition.
Oh, okay, so I mean, what are some kind of experiments or some observations that can reinforce that theoretical position?
So, for example, there's some art forms that are widespread everywhere, but we don't really know why, because these cultures could not have been in contact.
Oh.
So one example is a split representation. So it's a form of representation. It's a bit like cubism, like cubist painting, right. Where animals are represented. They are split and they are unfolded on the entire page, so that you can see all parts of the animal, which you cannot in real life. You can see only one side of somebody. Right. So maybe this art form is found on several places just because it has the potential to convey more information. So from a cognitive point of view, they are more efficient.
How do you see religion as part of this mix, both the cognitive study of religion and then religion as part of cultures, virtually all cultures in the world?
As my research shows, intention is very important. Perceiving intention is very important in the art experience. So when people see a work of art, they automatically wonder about why the artist created it. But people do that in another domain, and this is in the natural world. So, and this is called as teleological reasoning.
Teleological reasoning, yes.
Yes. So people tend to see functions, order, and purpose in the world.
In terms of their end result.
Exactly. And in some conditions, they attribute this purpose to a supernatural agent, such as a creator god. And here one might wonder whether there's a link between aesthetics and this, and that link might be beauty. That is, in both the case of art and religion or spirituality, people would think that beauty can be no accident, and hence that it must be intentional. So in the case of art, the agent would be recognized as the artist, and in the case of natural beauty, the agent might be thought to be a god.
And so what is the common thread, the foundational commonality between those two?
That would be, again, the fact that people speculate about the intentions of agents, any kind of agents.
Because the assumption is that beauty must have agents?
Because beauty is beautiful, because it's pleasing to the senses, people would believe that this can be no accident. It's like a coincidence. How could it be a coincidence? Something that is beautiful. So the idea would be that it must have been created by an agent. So in the case of art, the artist. In the case of natural beauty, maybe a supernatural agent.
And so therefore that would link in cultural development, both the development of religion and art, because they're both related to a kind of a common antecedent.
Exactly, and a common cognitive constraints on how people reason. So, and that is that they tend to detect agency in things.
And the work that you've done to show intentionality that is present in art, which you've done in the art world, then can be applied in the natural world. And since you don't know who the artist is, you make one up.
Exactly. You would think that maybe there's a bigger artist somewhere who has made that. Exactly. That's the idea. And for that, so there's no evidence. For example, again, there's studies with children. So, for example, we ask not about the existence of gods, but that they tend to attribute purpose to things or functions to things that are not functional. For example, there is a study by Deborah Kellerman where children are asked why some rocks are pointy. And the children provide answers such as they are pointy so that dinosaurs won't smash them. So there is this tendency to see functions and in some conditions agents in the world. Yeah.
And that's from our earliest formative development.
Exactly, because from a very young age, you will basically learn that some things are not animated, that some things are animated, that something, for example, can move when they want to move, contrary to an object. So very early in your childhood, you will learn to distinguish between agents, non-agents, and so on.
And this then pervades art and religion as it develops in culture.
Maybe. This is hypothetical, but maybe beauty could be the link between these two things. Yeah.